What's going on, guys? I'm super excited for today. We're going to go over a lot of continuing that funnel building that we had talked about last time, and diving a little bit deeper into the off-market side of things and what we can do from that perspective too. So I see we've already got a couple people flowing in here. So if you want to drop in the comments where you're coming from, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better and have some fun that way too. I'm going to leave this run for a sec while I run and grab a quick drink really fast, but I'm a little early anyway. So keep filling it in, fill in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from, and I'll be back in a sec. All right, guys. Sorry, I had to grab a really quick drink really fast. Awesome. So I see we got a couple people plugging in here. Everett, thanks for showing up. I love that. Shane, we got some good old Texas boys in the house right now. Love that. Actually, I don't live in DFW anymore, so Shane, it must be raining pretty hard right now. But cool. So today we're going to talk a lot about, we'll give it just a minute more for people to kind of flood in a little bit, but today we're going to talk a lot more about an off-market strategy as well. I know last week we talked about on-market lead generation and how you can kind of build that funnel from the beginning using your on-market strategies. But today we'll talk a little bit more about the off-market side of things and how we can build that out as well. So Lourdes, thanks for plugging in. Lourdes is like she basically keeps my whole life organized at this point. So she's a rock star. Cool. Awesome. Well, let's dive into this thing. So let me pull up and talk about a little bit of like some different strategies that you guys can use. So we're going to dive in a little bit more and talking about off-market strategies that people use to be able to find properties. And there's so many different routes. There's so many different routes that you can use to be able to find great properties. So we can go in and we can talk about that a little bit. And then really, I also want to open it up to any type of questions that anybody may have. So if anybody's got anything, make sure to plug them into the chat. And we will do the very best that we can to answer any questions as well. So, cool. So, all right. So the whole reason why people do off-market strategies, if you're pursuing on-market strategies, the on-market strategy is purely to get in front of people. And granted, they're very extremely motivated sellers because these individuals are people who have expressed interest in being able to sell their home. That's why it's listed on the market, either for sale by owner or it could be a agent listed property. And so whichever one it is, the fantastic part of this whole thing is that you've got somebody who's already expressed interest. The challenge is a lot of the time they're looking for an on-market style price. And so it often can mean that they're asking for too much for their property and it doesn't necessarily work. So off-market, the great part about off-market is you're going out to find these leads and talk to people who would be interested in selling their home. And you get a chance to kind of set that expectation with them and work through it. And being the first, the goal is to be the first person to contact them. The reality is a lot of the time, many other people are contacting them as well. By being the first person to contact them, your goal is to be able to connect with them, understand what their needs are, and help solve the problem. And also you remove a lot of the additional fees and things like that that are associated with buying and selling homes. So your seller doesn't have to cover any type of realtor fees. You still cover a lot of the closing costs and things like that too. But so it removes out a big chunk of those expenses. It allows you to put that into the purchase price, and it also allows you to track directly to the seller. And so when you're doing different things like creative finance or something that's a little bit different than a typical type offer, it's easier to do that when you're direct to seller, so you don't have a middle person who's relaying that information back and forth. I can see we've already got a bunch more people in here as well, so make sure to throw in the chat where you're coming from. If you got any questions, make sure to throw it in there as well. Super excited to dive in today. So one of the things that we want to talk about today was that off-market strategy that you can use to be able to find people. So within the off-market strategy, there's a couple different steps that are required. So first off, you need to be able to get access to your data. There's almost a funnel within this funnel, right? So you need access to data. There's a ton of different ways you pull this. You can pull it on PropStream. You can pull, hey, Luke, how's it going? You can pull it on PropStream. You can pull it on batch leads. You can pull it on, there's so many different sources. You could go directly to the county to pull information from the county. You could, even some title offices will send you some information about the information that you need as well too. So they can sometimes provide some different lists to you. You can find mentors and other people who are willing to give you a list so that you can then contact the people on that list and work with them as well. And so there's a ton of different strategies you guys could use here as well to be able to get access to lists. We can go through really fast. And I mean, there's so many different resources out there. So we'll go about, let's use PropStream really fast because I know that's a super common one. So PropStream, I know last week we talked about starting out with $0 budget. This is not going to be $0 budget. When you go off market, you are going to incur a lot of expense because there's going to be pulling lists. There's going to be contacting them, and it's going to take more time and money to get into it. But typically off market tends to pay a little bit better as well. So, hey, Robert, how's it going? All right, so I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna talk you guys through exactly what I would be doing. Because again, our focus on this channel is trying to explain A to Z, the wholesale process, and helping you guys fill in a lot of those gaps and figure out how you can best understand the process of going through the whole system. So again, for those people who are just jumping in, earlier this week, we talked about on market. So wholesaling on market stuff with zero budget dollars. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about off market and how you can directly connect with off market sellers. And I do want to give a huge disclaimer. I have had a super nasty cold that hit me really bad on like Wednesday afternoon. Yesterday, I was mostly out of commission, and so I'm coming back today. So if you hear me sniffling, apologize. I'm still working through a little bit of that. So, all right, let me throw my screen up here. Alrighty, so if you get a PropStream account, again, I think they're like $100 a month or something like that. It's not terrible, but if you don't have a budget, I mean, you don't have a budget. So the really cool thing about this is you can go in here, you can pull different lists, you can dive in all over the place. Ooh, great question, Abby. We'll get to that in just 2 seconds. I'm going to put this on ice for just a second, but I'll start so I can make sure to find it again. But let me anybody want to throw in the chat really fast, something or an area that you want us to focus on today? I know last week we did some stuff for Luke down in Florida. Anybody else got another market they want us to look at for today? Luke's in there with Tampa again. Let's see if we get another one. If we don't get one quick, Luke, I'll go back to Tampa for you. All right. Looks like we're going back to Tampa. I don't see anybody else. So, all right, Luke, plugging in there for Tampa. So if anybody's trying to do stuff in Tampa, obviously reach out to Luke. It looks like he's focused pretty heavy. I know you were focused on St. Petersburg in here. But we'll dive in here as well. Charlotte. Ooh, maybe we'll do that one. Sorry, Luke. We're going to pivot really fast. Abby threw in there Charlotte. And I do like Charlotte. All right, so we could dive into Charlotte, North Carolina. So in here, we just search market. And you can see immediately it's going to try to pull up just a bunch of different properties that can meet any type of criteria. The really cool thing about this, so PropStream, batch leads is similar to, there's a lot of just quick searches that you can use up here. So if you're trying to find a cash buyers list, you know what I mean? You can pull a list in here. It looks like there's already 50,000 cash buyers listed in the area. You could do a tax liens list. So these are people, and maybe we should go through this first. So MLS, these are obviously going to be properties that are listed on the multiple listing service. That's the realtors based service. So MLS based properties, these are on market properties. So you can see them through here. You could also see them through Zillow, Realtor, if you have MLS access, Redfin, if it's in that area. You can also go pre-foreclosures. So these are people who have received that first notice that they will be going into foreclosure. It's not a notice of sale just yet, but it's a notice of delinquency. And so it's them being told that you're behind. You need to catch this up. Otherwise, it will be going to foreclosure soon. So these people are in that first notice. So obviously there's some financial distress here, people who might need to be making decisions really quickly to try to help get them out of a sticky situation. So we can jump in and help there. Auctions, these are homes that are going up for auction. Sometimes that's the foreclosure process. And I've also seen sometimes where it can mix in other places like auction.com or things like that, just anybody who's on an auction. I don't know specifically PropStream and whether or not it is auctions that are just foreclosures or not. So I'll have to look into that some more. Bank owned, just like it sounds, they're bank owned properties. Liens, this is where there's some type of lien that was held against the property. So they didn't pay their water bill. There might be a lien against the property for that. Just anything that usually where somebody didn't pay for something and it could come through and there could be a lien placed against the property. So I know a lot of the time, the ones that we'll see is like a tax delinquency lien. We'll see water shut off liens and things like that too. Every once in a while, again, don't know how PropStream pulls it because to be honest, I'm a little bit newer to PropStream, but sometimes I know on other sites when I pulled lien lists, every once in a while we'll get like contractor liens and stuff like that as well too. So vacant, this is where the property itself has nobody that's listed that is currently living in the property based off of like a USPS, like postal service, trace and things like that. And so what they're trying to identify is that nobody is currently living there as of right now. High equity is that they don't have much left on their mortgage. They own, I don't know if the cutoff here is, I know some of them, it's like 85% where they own 85% of the home or more. And there's only like 15% or less in that. And that's all of them that show up on here. I know on a lot of other ones, we've also seen it where sometimes it could be like low equity lists. We've seen tax delinquents. We have seen, what else? Sometimes you'll see stuff like a board investor list, which is, absentee owner is a huge one, which I'm surprised that's not pulling up here on the top. Absentee owner is where it is the owner of the home on file, and for the records is not the same as the owner that is living in the property. So, or they have I think the biggest thing is actually the owner on file, their primary residence address is actually listed somewhere else. So they own the home, but they are absentee because they don't live there. And sometimes you can even filter based off of in-state absentee or out-of-state absentee. So if they live in the same state and they just come to visit the property or they own it, they might be, most of the time, this is typically like a landlord rental type situation. And if they're out of state, same type of thing, but can sometimes change the strategy that you use to talk to them about it. So cool. So then you can go through here. You can pull all sorts of sites. So let's say we wanted to go through, pull all the vacant properties. You can see over here, it says there's 3,600 unique properties. We could go ahead and select that, add them to a list, pull them over here, pull them into our property section. Then you'd go through and add them to your contacts. You could skip trace them in here. PropStream would then do skip tracing. And for those of you who don't know what skip tracing is, it is where it sends it through a bunch of different databases, being able to pull any associated phone and email information tagged to that seller or that owner of that property to be able to tag it to that. So that way then you could reach out to them. Sorry about that. I highly encourage you to then go through and make sure to scrub it against, scrubbing it is like removing out all of the unwanted ones, but scrub it against the federal DNC list, so the do not call list. And then also sometimes different softwares will have their own DNC list of people who have elected to not receive any notifications. We try to typically remove out most of those, just because those people, if they've already requested not to be on there, most of the time, we don't want to be bothering with them. So don't want to be a problem to anybody. We just want to try to be a solution. So you can go through skip tracing here if you'd like as well. There are tons of different resources and different softwares out there to be doing all sorts of stuff here too. You can create campaigns. I think you can send is this SMS? Obviously we don't use PropStream for this. Yep. So you can use it. So you can send out emailers, postcards. So it looks like you can do different campaigns with that stuff. It doesn't look like it's SMS. It's just postcards and emailers. So, but anyways, this is a great place to be able to pull your lists and organize your data. Again, another option would be like batch leads. So you could go through, pull the same type of thing. I can show you guys really fast what batch leads looks like. We use this one a lot more. And so you can, again, pull your list the same type of way. We'd go through and pull everything in here, plug it into our lists, skip trace them. We just pulled another skip trace record this morning. And then here you could plug it into, again, a direct mail, but you could also do SMS out of here. And then you can create your reports, and we'll just go to the dashboard again. But so PropStream, batch leads, both great places to pull data. You could also pull it directly from the city by going to county records. If you're trying to look for like a water shutoff, sometimes that is publicly accessible data. So you could go on there and reach out to the water company and just say, hey, I'm looking for a list of all of the water shutoff individuals. Sometimes it takes emailing 2 or 3 different people till eventually you get through to them. And then you can get through and talk to them and try to get that list of who you're searching for. So batch leads, PropStream, great places to pull lists. That's the very top of this entire funnel, right? Is identifying the list that you want to be able to pull. Next is how you're going to contact them. There's so many different ways. You've already seen on here, there's different campaigns. You could use direct mail, sending it directly to them. That's like the postcards. You could use, I've seen ringless voicemail. I haven't used either of those. You could do ringless voicemails, which goes and just leaves a voicemail on people's phone. Personally, I hate those, so I would never use them, just because I think it's a pain when I get them. We do a lot of text messaging and cold calling and just reaching out. So cold calling is just trying to call them and say, hey, are you interested in selling your home? We do a lot of text messaging, texting everybody saying, hey, are you interested in selling your home, or are you interested in entertaining an offer? People will do bandit signs. They'll throw those out in different places too. That actually requires that you don't have to pull the list, because you could just put a bandit sign out and wait for somebody. Bandit sign is like one of those signs you see like around this time of year, like the voting time. You'll see bandit signs popping up all over the place saying vote for so-and-so. Same type of thing, but you'll see them for the businesses too, where it says, hey, if you're interested in this, give us a call. Same type of thing. And so you can see bandit signs. That would help save you some money there too. Other options that I've seen a lot of, you can do radio, you could do TV commercials. There's another one that's popped in my head and I forgot what it was now. Oh, you could just go knock doors. So you could pull a list. I know a lot of people who they'll pull a list, especially if like pre-foreclosures, things like that, people who have a higher likelihood or higher distress motivation status that they could reach out to, and then they'll just go and pursue to see how they could best help that individual. And so that you can just go knock doors. So ultimately at that point, it's just, how are you going to get in front of these individuals? We'll talk all about sales scripts and things like that, and how we would approach that conversation in a future date. I think it'd be really cool if we could highlight a couple people probably here and there, and have them jump on and we can do some trainings and talk about it. But so top of the funnel, you pull your lists, contact those lists, find the people that are interested. And then as those leads come through, now you have your database of people who have motivation, and then you start your sales process of negotiation and qualification and things like that, and funneling them through. Really fast, let me do a quick check. I've been talking for a minute, but anybody have any questions? Throw them in the chat. I know Abby, I can highlight yours now. Abby Austin is one of our JV specialist, an absolute rock star. So if you want to reach out with us, reach out to Abby, reach out to Kirsten. Both of them are awesome. And we would love to work with you guys however we can. So what is one of the best tools for skip tracing? So we've used lots of different things. We use batch leads a lot. We'll use batch leads quite frequently. I've heard great things about PropStream. Haven't used them a whole lot. I've also heard things. We've actually used this one a couple of times too. So Skip Matrix is another one that you can go in here. I think their pricing is based off of what is going on. There we go. Yeah, so their pricing is based off of how many records you want to do. So if you're pulling a list of 10,000, oh, it looks like the prices actually went up a little bit. But if you're doing like a list of like 10,000 records or something like that, it's going to be about 13 cents per match. The really cool thing is a lot of these good skip tracing sites, they'll only charge you for the ones that actually connect. Some places will charge you for how many records you submit. These are only going to charge you for the ones that actually match. So if you have a property or a man, if you have a property or you have a seller that is not pulling up anywhere and you don't have any information for you, they wouldn't charge you for that, which is really cool. So you can see the more you do, they're going to drop their price, cents per match. Obviously, if you're doing 100,000, that is a ton. But you'd only be at like 10 cents per match, which is really cool. So great results here. They have a really good results here. Like I said, we've done a ton through batch as well. I would say, and I've heard good things about PropStream as well. There are so many different skip tracing services out there that really, I don't think you can go wrong as long as you're just trying different ones out and seeing which ones work best in your market. I know that there's also differentiation between different markets. So I try out batch, I try out PropStream, I try out Skip Matrix. There's also some that are a little bit cheaper. We found some of the cheaper ones too. You don't get maybe quite as strong of data or good of results. However, it's significantly less expensive. So you get better off that way. I know some people who they'll go on to Fiverr. I have not had a whole lot of success from this, but I know there's people up on Fiverr and Upwork and stuff like that who you can hire them to go and skip trace records for you. So you submit a list to them, they'll go skip trace it. And people have had good results there too. Cool. Great question, Everett. So what kind of budget should you have for chasing off-market deals when just starting out? All right. So when you're starting out, you should plan. It depends on what route you want to go. If you're going to be doing just everything yourself, then it's going to be a little bit different. Most of the time, most people who I know are not huge fans of cold calling. I am one of those. I have tried cold calling many times. I can do it, but to me, it just takes so much time and effort that I just realized it was not something I was passionate or good about doing. And so instead, I've hired that out to VAs, and we can talk about virtual assistants in the future. Maybe we'll highlight Lourdes. I know she's probably nervous that I'm like calling her out now, but we'll highlight Lourdes and have her hop on here and talk about how she helps manage our VA team. So if you're hiring a VA, it's going to be a little bit of a different story. You'd then be paying a VA for their hours and everything like that too. If you're doing it all within your own house, I typically would recommend about 10,000 records per month, at least for the first couple months, and then you can start to recycle some of those records back through. So you're going to be looking at, depending on where you skip trace, I know batch, I think is like 12 cents a skip trace. So if you're doing 10,000, what is that? 10,000 a month times 12. So you're looking about $1,200 there. There's a ton of different softwares that you can use for then texting out or you doing cold calls and stuff like that. So there's Batch Dialer is a great dialer. Call Tools is a great dialer. We're currently using Call Tools right now. Zen Call, or also called Ready Mode, is another great dialer. All three of them are quite comparable, just different interfaces in how they interact. Then there's, for the SMS stuff, there are so many different options. So you could send text through batch leads. You could send texts through REI reply. You could send texts through, we use launch control is a big one that we're using right now. It has a little more price per text, but We like it from a budgeting standpoint, and it's helped us out with deliverability quite a bit. And so really you can kind of go any route you want there. So Everett, I don't have a great answer for you. I mean, I would say you should probably make sure you have about $5,000 to $6,000 just to get started, because it's going to take some money to get the first couple, like the first set of records done. You've got money coming through to be able to help fund the different dialers or SMS platforms that you're using. And when you sign up for an account with like either Call Tools or Batch Dialer or something like that, you're going to pay for your subscription for the dialer. You're also going to, for the seat on the agent on the dialer, whether it's yourself or a VA or something like that. And then you also have to pay for the phone numbers that you're going to be using as well. Most of the places are at like $2 a phone number or something like that. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But I would plan conservatively around $5,000 to $6,000 minimum to get started, because it'll take a couple months before you start closing a ton of deals through. And so getting that pipeline moving, and giving it at least that 90-day period to try stuff out. So sorry about that. Cool. One of the other things, good. Glad that answered your question. One of the other things that I wanted to walk you through as well was, I know we talked about this last time, but this is a little hack that I found for identifying your market. So I know we talked about this last time, and this is kind of backtracking a little bit, because, right, you'd want to identify the target spots in your market prior to diving into where you're pulling your list and stuff like that. So let's say we're just going to use Charlotte for you, Abby. So, all right. So if we go into Zillow, we can go to Charlotte, North Carolina. So one of the things that we like to do a lot is that we will first remove this boundary, and we're going to go out a little bit more. And I feel like I'm encompassing everything that's kind of in that like white metro, bigger city area. Because who knows, sometimes these little suburbs out to the side are actually the ones that they're either nicer or worse off neighborhoods, and I like to know all that. So, so I'm going to draw a bigger radius there. And then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select home type really fast. I'm going to say, where are all of the manufactured homes? So this is actually pretty even. Sometimes you look in certain areas and you see like a giant pocket of all the manufactured homes are in like one section. I'm going to also flip this over to solds too. So you can see it's pretty even. You know what I mean? There's nothing really obviously in the downtown section, but manufactured homes are kind of evenly within the outskirts. So that's the first thing I like to kind of quickly check really fast. Next is we're going to go into houses now. And this is going to start to create a heat map for you. I know there's different softwares that will actually do these heat maps for you as well. And you can kind of look in and dive into it. I think PropStream will sometimes do that. And you can always use that as well. But I'm going to show you kind of how to manually do this again. If I had $0 starting out. All right, so you can go down here. You can say home type. We don't want to change anything else here, actually. We're going to go over here to price, and I'm going to choose $0. And then first, I'm going to choose like 300,000. I want to know where all of the homes are that sold for under 300,000. And you can see, and let's do, just right now it's set to 90 days, but let's just say in the last 12 months, because I want to get a feel for what's going on. Now, that's a huge result. So what I would do is I would come over here to my pen and paper. I'm going to write down, so homes from 0 to 300K, we have 12,139 homes over the last year. All right, now I'm going to filter it. I'm going to say starting at 300,000. Now I want to take this, let's go to 500,000. And that is a huge jump. That's 21,000. So I'm actually going to dial it back. Well, we'll start there first. We'll say at 500. So, all right, 300 to 500K. And again, take note, this is actually pretty evenly dispersed. If you guys notice, I should have drawn attention to this first. If we go back to the 300,000, let me get this number before I go out of it. 21490. And we're going to set no minimum. All right. So if you see this, you can see it kind of pulls out here to these areas on the outskirts. This pocket right here doesn't have a whole lot of this lower income stuff. And it seems like the south side of Charlotte is obviously not as low income, or at least low price homes. Up here around the lake, typically around lakes like this, you're going to not see quite as many of them. It seems like down here, there's a good concentration of these lower priced homes. And then out here, which I can't tell what the name of this is, Monroe. There's a little chunk of them out here too. So you can kind of see the heat map, right, of the concentration of where these different homes are at. And then you can see on the next one, it was pretty even. So I'm just going to jump up to 500K now, and we're just going to be plugging in to see what these pockets are. So we're going to do 700,000, trying to go in increments of like 200,000 a piece. All right, so 500K to 700K, there's a huge drop off right there to 8,774. So we already know that our sweet spot, and you could kind of tell by how consolidated it was, and then just to finish it off, I'm going to say 700K to $1 million. Actually, we'll just say no max, any price. And so 700K plus is 6,848. So I'll show this to everybody as well. So if you can see, but I don't know if you can read my handwriting, but you can see the consolidation here is that obviously we have way more. There's 21,000 right here in this one little gap from 300 to 400 or 500K. So that's probably the highest. Well, that is the highest volume of homes being sold. So we're going to break this down even more because I want to dive into it some more. So if we look at 300 to 400K, again, you can see that it kind of curls around here. We don't have a whole lot down here. So one of the things I forgot to look at is when we were at the higher purchase prices, is that where we were seeing these homes come through at. So 300 to 400K still evenly dispersed, but it kind of hits, it started to curl down the side a little bit more. So these neighborhoods in here, it looks like they're like a 300 to 400K neighborhood. And I'm going to give a breakout now of this 21,000. So 300 to 400K. And that is, we're looking at 12,308. And then we're going to do the 4 to 5. Okay, so it's funny because look, 4 to 5, all of a sudden we don't have as much in these neighborhoods up here like we did before, and now we're starting to see the stuff peek through here. So we're so that's kind of the breaking point, is right at that 400,000 point. That's where we shift from these neighborhoods up here, and then all of a sudden it shifts into these pockets in here. Now we're around the lake a lot more, so it seems like you'll realize with each market there seems to be a point at which once you hit that purchase price, that's where all of a sudden it moves from certain neighborhoods to other neighborhoods. And so that's the kind of that like divide, which I know nobody likes to say, and I hate saying it out loud, but at the same time, there's always a little bit of a financial divide between certain neighborhoods. I don't know why, but my camera's not connecting. There we go. All right, we're gonna have to reconnect this. And there we go. All right. So you'll see that there's that kind of that divide really fast where it'll break from one neighborhood to the other. So right here, it seems like 400 to 500K is kind of that break. However, there's less homes being sold at this purchase price. So 300 to 400K, I think, is probably the sweet spot. In that $100,000 gap is where the biggest median is. Because if we're looking at this, and again, I know this isn't pretty or anything like that. Oh, yeah, I'm up here now. All right, so if you look at this, the breakdown is 0 to 300K. Is in that $300,000 gap, we've got 12,000 homes being sold. This next one, we had 21,000, so we broke it out individually. And right here in that, again, we're at like 12,000 just in the $300,000 to $400,000 price point. So that tells me that the sweet spot in this market that I want to be targeting is for flips that are going to sell in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, because that's the sweet spot of this market. That's where the most homes are being sold. So it allows us to focus on what's the stuff that's going to make the biggest impact. So we've got a little bit of some market analysis being done here. The other thing that we can do, so this is kind of another free way to do it, is you go to list source, which I forgot. This is actually a great website to also pull lists. It can be quite expensive. So most of the people who I know don't pull these until they are, until they've got a little bit more money behind them to be able to help them. Let's see if I can get my other camera to work again. I think that's a better camera. There we go. All right. So if we go in here to list source, you can go in and type in your criteria. First off is geography. So we're going to search based off of a city. And on this one, we're going to choose North Carolina. We want to choose Charlotte. And this is a super tedious process, so bear with me as we do this. And I don't know the area very well, so. All right, we're going to pull up Charlotte. Okay, so around Charlotte, we've got, what other big cities do we have? So Charlotte's by far the biggest. I don't know if we want to include in Matthews and Unionville. So we can go in over here and include a couple of those. So we'll go to Matthews. Unionville. Nope, I went too far. There it is. Let's see what else we want to pull over here. Wesley Chapel. I know before we were looking at Newport. I know this is technically across the border, but it's kind of that same metroplex area. Actually, if I do that, it's gonna be a different state, so I can't do that one. We'll go to Concord, Huntersville. We'll just pull that just for the sake of this example. All right, Huntersville and Concord. Let's see, Huntersville. And then the really cool thing about this is it will give you a huge opportunity to figure out what people are buying at. So now we can go to mortgage. Up here we'll go to mortgage. Or transaction type. Nope, that's not it. Never mind. Property. In here, we're going to choose property type. We want residential. This is townhouse. We could include townhouse. We could include multifamily. And both of those. Let's want to include duplex, triplex. We could do quad, single family residence. We'll include that. And that's all we'll include for right now. You could distribute based off of income and everything else and marital status and all that stuff. I don't know how helpful that really is. Man, this camera just does not want to work. So we're gonna, I don't ever pull based off of that. And then in here, there is another way to do this. Where is it? I pulled it before and I've done it so many times. And it's based off of being able to do a cash purchase. I'm not finding it right now. So, all right. So you can see right now we're up to 287,000 properties. Is it over here? Oh, here you go. So you could look at where people are buying properties as far as like absentee owners. So you could pull that. You could pull owner occupied. Absentee owner is going to be much cleaner when it includes like rental type properties or like a fix and flip. Obviously, that's going to be an absentee owner. So we'll include that in there typically. And then what is the other? It's got to be under this. Oh, this is what it is. Mortgage amount. So we're going to say from 0 to maybe we'll say like $1,000. Enter values greater than 0. All right, 1. Because we want the people who don't have a mortgage. Let me see. Am I logged in? Here, let me log in. I'll see how we pulled this before. It's going to have us redo this whole thing, but I know we did this like in Houston. All right, so let's see. What did I do? We did it based off of the property. We tried to pull it in the last 6 months. So here, I'll walk you guys through what we did in here. So it wasn't a mortgage, huh? So we'll pull it based off of, we pulled off of a county. You pull off the city or the county, and we went through, we're going to pull based off of the property. So last market, oh, here it is. So last market sale date. So we wanted to filter based off of a certain criteria here. We pulled all these, like you can see over here, residential, townhouse, multifamily, other, duplex, triplex, apartment, quads, single family homes, or single family residence, condominiums, PUDs. We included that in there, even though there wasn't anything there. We could have removed it. And then we only wanted to know, I thought it was cash purchases, but apparently it wasn't. I thought I filtered on that. So we had everything else right. Address mailing. So over here, we did address mailing is complete, which makes sense here. All right, and then I'm going to walk you through what this does. So if you go to purchase list, don't worry, you're not going to actually have to spend the money on it. So you get to this point, and you'll say right here, it'll tell you, hey, to buy this list, it's going to cost you $3,000. Don't have a heart attack. Realize that you don't actually have to spend that right now because we're just using it for market research. So purchase a partial list, and then you could say custom selection, and we want to do it by zip code, group the properties by zip code. So recalculate. Oh, all properties. No, why is it not doing? Oh, there it goes. All right, so the super cool thing about this is you can go based off of properties by zip code, then go over here and you hit export. I'll show you what this does. It's going to have me put in my stuff. All right, there you go. All right, and just because I don't want to receive my email for a second, give me 2 seconds and I'll pull up the document. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so as soon as that comes through, sitting here on list source. And last time I think it just let me download it directly from here. But then it'll send you the email for you to be able to download it. And as soon as you do it, apparently doesn't send you the email very fast. However, what we're going to do really fast because you guys will see what this looks like too. So you can have it export, send it to your email, or I'll show you the other way that we could just do this too, even straight from this page, just to make it easier. So on this page, we could now go in and just take this whole list, copy, and then I'm going to open Excel. And then paste it into here. And the really cool thing about this whole process is that you're going to now know, okay, at each of these zip codes, this tells you how many properties were sold in general in the two counties. Like for us, this was for Houston. I know we were trying to do it for Charlotte, but there's the two counties that we did it in. This is how many properties were sold within that time period. I think we're just looking at 3 months here. And then I can go through and choose sort. Oops, I want to sort this column. Sort largest to smallest, expand the selection. Yes. So now I have a perfectly built spreadsheet of these are the zip codes that investors are buying in the most. This 77007 in the Houston market, that one has the most sales in the last 3 months for people who are absentee owners who are closing on these properties. So it gives you a chance to be able to kind of target which zip codes you want to be pulling the most lists from, which is super helpful, especially when you're starting out, to know where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. Because the worst thing to do is when you go and you get a property under contract and you go to try to dispo it, and everybody tells you that that's a bad zip code or an area that they don't want to be purchasing properties in. So I highly recommend you go about this route as well, to be able to get a targeted zip code list. Allows you to focus on maybe your top 10, 15, maybe even 20 zip codes. They're going to make the biggest difference for you. The other route is just to go about and try to continue to pull county-based larger nets and county-based lists to be able to skip trace and contact that way too. Cool. What other? So I know Abby, you were asking tools to get skip traced and things like that too. This is how to pull your list and do some market research as well. What other questions do people have? I know we're kind of getting towards the end of the time, the hour that we've got right now, but I wanted to make sure I'm answering everybody's questions and make this a good mastermind live for you guys. That way I'm answering what you need. Was this helpful to anybody? Good. Oh yeah, I see in here. I appreciate that, Everett. Appreciate the tip. All right, Everett, you got another question. You're saying, what CRM do you use? So one of the things that I would recommend is when you're starting out, just use a free CRM. Use Podio. Podio is great for people who are starting out. You can build out your CRM from a pretty basic level, and it's absolutely free for you. So that is how I would start if I were you, is focused on just having low cost to get into it. And you can't beat Podio. I mean, being a completely free CRM, I mean, we're actually moving away from it now. We're moving into Salesforce ourselves, but we've used Podio up until this point. And just because it's free and you can make it a lot happen with it. Stuff does break in it. It's not as customizable as you would like, but I mean, for being free, can't really beat it. So there's tons of other options out there too. I know if you're using REI Reply for text messaging, they have a CRM attached to it. It's also kind of finding which CRM lines up with your style, because some people really like having little cards and dragging them on the Kanban approach and dragging them through the different cycles of the leads. And other people prefer just building out lists of who I need to contact and being able to switch between lists. That's the direction I typically tend to lean. So it's really going to just come down to what is it the most helpful thing for you, and it's going to line up with your style the best. So yeah, but starting out, my advice would be hit up Podio. I think for being totally free to start out with, you know what I mean, that you can't go wrong with it. Cool. And And what other questions you got? Crystal, who shows up earlier to watch more. Well, make sure to keep coming out. Let me know if you have any other questions, and we'd love to help you out in the future too. Anything else? Appreciate that, Everett. Appreciate the feedback. But yeah, if anybody else has any other questions, please reach out. Like I said, we are doing these lives every Tuesday and Friday. Whether I'm sick or not, I'm going to try to be here the best I can. But Tuesday through Friday, 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure to hop on, have some questions, drop them in the chat. Yep, Crystal, ask away. We'd love to help however we can. So, oh, Robert. All right, let's see what this question is. On PropStream, there's a bank-owned tab. Is there any potential leads with bank-owned properties? So yes, sorry about that. Yes, bank-owned properties you could do stuff with. I have had a harder time with them because banks are trying to sell them quickly and get rid of them. So sometimes if you have a connection to the bank, that is the way that I know the best way to be able to work with a bank. If you have a connection to somebody within the bank or something like that, and you can work with them, sometimes that you can get your offers in there and they can present it and somebody be willing to move with it. If you're talking about a massive bank like Wells Fargo or something like that, it's going to be a little bit harder, like Wells Fargo or Chase or something like that. But especially in this market right now, again, we don't target bank-owned properties, but I know people who do. They don't target them, but they'll have success with them, and they can make stuff happen for them. Again, not a strategy. I'm probably not the right person to talk to you about it, but from what I understand is if you can get the right connections in there and get your offer in there, I mean, banks are looking to sell them quickly. So if it's a distressed property and it's bank owned, I mean, you have a high chance of making it happen. It's just going to be a matter of, can you get the numbers work for you? And sometimes there's some additional steps there. If you're looking to wholesale it, most banks that I know of, I have seen most of the time that they won't allow you to wholesale it. So you'll either have to double close or you will have to put it in an LLC and sell the LLC. Which is another way to kind of help get around that. So cool. Any other questions? Wondering how you look at a property to determine if it could be a good deal or not. There's a couple that I'm looking at. All right, Crystal. So I'm going to redirect you if you go onto my YouTube channel. So let me throw this up here. If you hit us up, go to officialjakecross.com, or if you just go to here, I'll just plug it in here. youtube.com/@JakeCrossREI. Go here, youtube.com/JakeCrossREI. And we have a video from Tuesday, and we walked through that exact same thing. So yeah, I would go that route first, is that I would try to figure out what you can do in so sorry, I'm still coming off this cold, but go watch that video. I think that'll answer your questions. We walked through last week about like an on-market strategy and stuff like that. And we even started to dive into underwriting deals and coming up with if it's a good offer or not. We'll do some more of that next week. I've heard that I got some good feedback there. People said that was super helpful. So we'll go through some more examples. Maybe we'll bring a couple people on and showcase them and allow them to bring up some properties that they're looking at, and we can underwrite them together. So check out that video. Hopefully that helps and we can get stuff moving for you. Cool. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for everybody who's showing up each week, and I'm glad that we can help out. Make sure to come with some questions. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you. Again, reach out to Abby or Kirsten on our team. They're rock stars. They would love to help get to know you and what your business needs and how we can best serve you guys. So perfect. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week. Bye.